presentation. Eric, Michelle?
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay? Good evening. My name is Dan Rowley. I represent Master Ventures LLC. My client owns 4 parcels located back off of Farmington Avenue, near the intersection of Farmington Avenue and Steinmetz Road. The parcels border the Coddington View development as well as the Pottsgrove Middle School. My client's property is a little over 10 acres in size and is currently vacant. It's currently split zoned between the R2 district and the R3 district. This is a unique property to develop because of its location, that split zoning that I mentioned, and the slope of the property. And we've been working closely with township staff to develop a plan that makes sense for the property and the area. We have submitted multiple tentative sketch plan reviews and have met with township staff numerous times. I was checking my notes earlier, and I believe the first meeting we had was back in June of 2021. So through the process of receiving township reviews of the project, multiple meetings with staff, and looking at the area surrounding the property, we are before you tonight to request that the board advertise a hearing on the potential rezoning of the property and some surrounding parcels from the R2 to the R3, and that's a portion of the property from the R2 to R3. There are a few reasons why we're requesting this change. So as it currently exists, what I will call the front parcels, and when I say the front parcels, I mean the parcels closest to Farmington Avenue, are zoned R2. Which permits, among other uses, single-family detached dwellings. The rear parcel, and by the rear parcel I mean the parcel furthest from Farmington Avenue, is zoned in the R3 district, which permits townhome developments. So as it exists today, a mix of single-family detached dwellings and townhomes are permitted on the tract, with single-family dwellings towards the front and townhomes permitted on the back. We think from a planning perspective, this is suboptimal. Firstly, the property is significantly sloped, with the high point being on the rear of the parcels and the slope running down towards Farmington Avenue. Under the current zoning, we would be required to put the townhouses and associated impervious coverage on the rear parcel and the single-family development on the front parcels. However, if the board were to approve a rezoning, we would be able to site the townhomes and associated impervious coverage closer to the bottom of the slope. This would allow us to more effectively capture stormwater. The larger stormwater facilities that would be in the townhome open space would be better suited to capture the stormwater towards the bottom of that slope. Another benefit of the potential rezoning would be that the proposed townhomes would more seamlessly blend into the character of the Coddington View development, which is right next door. And in fact, the township owned right-of-way for Sageview Drive runs right to the edge of our property. So we would intend to develop the townhome portion of the property primarily as a development in the same character as the Coddington View development. And by placing the townhouses towards the front, it allows us to more seamlessly blend in the existing character through that connection between the two developments. And a further benefit of our proposed rezoning would be to clean up some of the non-conformity issues that remain from the Coddington development. So like our property, Coddington is also split zoned between the R2 and R3 district, with the R2 district portion abutting our property. So while Coddington is a townhome development, the townhomes in the R2 portion of the development are non-conforming. We would be proposing to rezone this portion of Coddington to R3 in addition to our property, which would clean up some of these existing non-conformity issues in the Coddington development. One additional point that I wanted to highlight tonight regarding our request is that we are not proposing any additional density as a part of our rezoning application. Under the current existing zoning, the allowable density under the code as it exists today is 30 units. And again, that's a mix of townhomes and single-family dwellings. If the board were to approve that requested rezoning, we are agreeable to limiting the density to 30 units that are permitted on the existing zoning. So this is not an instance where we are looking to increase the permitted density of the property. This rezoning application is being brought from a planning perspective and what makes sense for the development of this unique property. So again, our request tonight is to advertise for a rezoning hearing so that we can continue in this process. And just to be clear, we're not asking for any kind of approval tonight. We're not asking for an approval of a rezoning or approval of any plans. We're just asking that the board advertise a hearing for the proposed rezoning so we can present in a more formal hearing setting. I'd also like to just point out that this is the first step really in a long approval process. The next step would be to submit the proposal for the County Planning Commission, then hold that formal rezoning hearing. And even if the board were to rezone the property at a future hearing, this project would be before you many times. It would go through a substantial review process. It would be reviewed by the zoning hearing board, and we would have to obtain preliminary and final land development. Again, this is something we've worked with township staff on dating back to approximately June 2021, and it would still need to go back in front of this board and subject to many other township reviews and county reviews prior to anything being built. And that's just a long way of saying this would not be the last time you're seeing this project. It would be before you again. And with that, I will turn it back to the board if they have any questions of me or our team.
Thanks. Question from Commissioner?
I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
Maybe start off with a comment. You may, well, I cannot speak for my other commissioners, I probably can a little bit. We're very gun shy of developers because they come in with one plan and all of a sudden somehow 7 more homes got put on it. I know we brought this up a while ago, and I think your zoning hearing got thrown out with a bunch of other ones that we threw out at one time.
That's correct.
But what I do like on this plan, and you had me at, right now you can put 30 units on it, and after the rezoning, and that's not even really a good term for that, cause it's almost a net sum zero, you're gonna have 30 units on there. So you're not adding any more units with this rezoning.
Correct. That our plan would be to keep the density the same as it is today. Again, it's really a planning perspective.
Well, the term is not correct. Is this almost like a de facto by right plan? Because 30 units is 30 units?
I'm not sure I totally understand the question, but I will say whether the existing zoning stays in place or there's a proposed rezoning, we will have to go to the zoning hearing board for some kind of relief. At the very least, there will be some steep slope relief. So I wouldn't call it by right necessarily.
By right light, maybe?
Sure.
All right, that's fine.
I think as to do with density, I think it would be by right.
That's correct.
That's kind of the focus I'm on, is density, and like I said, this board was put in place, for overdevelopment from developers, and we spent a lot of money trying to hold that back. But what I think you have here is something I would like to see more of. I can't make a decision obviously with what we have, but I would propose that we let this move to the hearing so the public can take a crack at this too. I'd like to make a motion to move this forward to a public hearing or advertise it for a public hearing. And I encourage the public to review this plan and give us your feedback.
Hearing a motion on the advertising piece, is there a second to advertise? Hearing a second, further discussion.
Just for the public's purpose, what this means, if this gets approved, what will happen is, as Attorney Raleigh said, is the ordinance would be finalized. It's already drafted, but it was more for some of, so I have to peel it out to make it a standalone ordinance. That will get sent to the County Planning Commission for 30-day review period. We will then schedule a hearing on that ordinance, and that's when the public could show up and provide public comment for or against that ordinance, and that's when this board would then consider enactment of the ordinance to switch the zoning of this property. So really no action, substantive actions happening tonight, it's just moving the process to the next phase.
Yep. Okay, any more comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries, we are advertising.
Thank you for your time tonight.